Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
No problem, Ben. Good to see you again.
Tell us a little bit about yourself so we can edit this and put things out of context.
So yeah, I'm Chris Tabb. Been working in the data industry for most of my career. Been about so. Well, but everyone probably knows, and the main job. I love my skiing, but obviously it's this summer at the moment, so I'm not getting much of that in. Yeah, and been working on data security. A big focus on data security more recently. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
And were you always into data and into data security?
So I mean, I first started my career and sort of like fell into the role of working in data when I started working for Cognos, and then that's taken me, or just the data part has taken me on a bit of a journey that each company, either a different technology or a different focus on data or a different industry, and I think some of the industries that I've fallen into has meant that security is a big focus. So payment companies that have that big focus on being PCI compliant or having a security on credit card numbers and things like that. So yeah, more recently a massive focus on data security, but it all started with data for me.
How do you find the new I don't know, the new normal or the new COVID
Yeah,
lifestyle?
I mean, I've learned to embrace it a bit, really. We have to work around it, but I've decided to just work in other locations instead. So I'm currently out in Spain at the moment. I ended up being stuck in the Alps for 4 months, 5 months over the winter, and I plan to do the same again. So I think the ability to be able to work wherever now, that there is some benefits in that. But I do hope to get back down to that stage where I can go and meet up and collaborate with the people in our team. We've hired loads this year, and I haven't seen them all face to face. So I'd like to be able to get back to that. But yeah, so wow. Trying to take the rough with the smooth, I think is how you say.
Some of the effects it had are positive, like more time for me with my family. But of course, yeah, I'd love to go back to normal and traveling and yeah. Um, so what do you do at Leading Edge, and what does Leading Edge do?
So Leading Edge. So we're data specialists. I mean, we came together in 2018. The team known each other. Chris Edge, one of the partners, and Ian Chotiku. We've known each other 20 odd years. All worked together on different projects, and yeah, we came in and it was focused around Snowflake really. I'd worked with Snowflake on their first client in 2017. I just thought it was a game changer. So this is the future. Worked on a couple of implementations, and then we decided let's set up a Snowflake partnership and spread the word, so to speak. So we do data strategy. We do help with implementations. We help accelerate delivery. So normally Snowflake focused. But we have some other complementary partners like yourself, Satori, which add additional value to that ecosystem. So we're all about getting the best value of your data for a company, and doing it in a secure way as well.
And what do you do at Leading Edge?
I've got many hats. So I'm one of the partners. I do a lot of the business development. So I'm a principal architect on some of the sites we're at.
Yeah. What do you wish you would have known now if you could go back in time, like when starting Leading Edge?
So when I started out, I think I want to become a CTO, and get to that. I didn't really know what a CTO did at that point, and on my journey, and when I finally became a CTO, I realized that's not what I wanted to do. So I think be happy with what you're doing. If you enjoy the work you're doing, it doesn't. Sometimes a job job title doesn't really make that much difference.
As long as you enjoy what you're doing, that's I think that's one of the most important things in your career.
I agree.
And if someone was out, to go in your path or in the data security, DataSecOps path, what advice would you give someone who's starting new, starting?
Yeah, so I think if anyone, if you have that view of target, that's where you want to go to. I think the first thing I do is make sure that is what you want to do. So research what that role is, what that job entails, what the activities you'd actually do for it, and then I'd probably break down those activities down into, okay, how can I gain the skills required for each of those pieces? And it may not just be one step, it may not be just one role, it may not just be one company, but working out, okay, right, to gain that selection, that palette of skills, but also not only to gain the skills, but actually to have relevance for them. So to be able to relate it to a situation, going, that's why you do it this way. I like to use the term battle scars. It's you learn a lot when things go wrong, and you learn a lot from seeing it in real life. You can only learn so much from a book or from theory. I don't think there's an easy there's a simple answer to that one. It's you need to work out the direction you're going in and the steps that you can use to get you there.
If you had a couple of days or weeks to learn a new technology, or maybe you do have that time, what would it be right now?
So I don't have a spare couple of days or a couple of weeks, but what would it be? Nowadays I don't get a chance to do the hand-on coding as much. I can have a little play now and then, but I think some NLP stuff would be quite interesting. Some natural language process, so getting to understand that a bit more and where that fits in. I don't know whether that would be a practical use of my time. That would just be a bit of fun. I don't know if I'll ever actually put it to any use. But yeah, if I do get some downtime at some point, maybe I'll do a little course or a little play around with some technology in that area.
What challenges do you see around data security, around DataSecOps? What do you see?
So there's plenty of challenges around that. I think the biggest challenge is policies being defined and how they turn into reality. So I think I've blogged about this a few times. It's very easy for a policy to be defined by your CISO team or your security team, but it's the implementation of it and the practicality of it and the impact that would have on the business users that need to use the data. So I think that's one of getting that security team and the business and the technology team to work closer to understand what can be achievable, the real risks associated to what's being proposed, and to take a real risk-based approach to delivering this. Because if it's very unlikely something's going to happen, it's not worth you putting the effort in to actually to do that. And it's also the repercussions of that risk as well. So GDPR fines are very high, so you need to look at them, and the same with maybe company reputation of a breach or something. So yeah, I think that's one of the challenges is that collaboration community piece of people working together for the best for the company. I think the other one is the separation of your development from your security. So, and again, this is why I love Satori. It just does that. It just does what it says. You separate all that policy, what you're allowed to see, what you can't see, who is accessing it. It's separated from the data. So, having to do that at the data level and maybe in multiple places is a very large overhead, and to manage it is even a larger overhead. So, I think this is why a lot of the security teams, they want to see it put in, or they want to make sure that security is put in every single location. And I think going back to that technology thing, if they understood what can be achieved with a different approach, of that separation of your data and from your security. And I think I just want to add one more thing is, there's DataSecOps, there's data GovOps, there's DataSecGovOps. I mean, it's governance need to fit into this as well, but it's getting a long word now if you go and try and put all those things in as well. But it's the governance, it's security, and having those two things separated from the developers. They don't have to worry about it. You're there, you're using anonymized data, or you're using data that's being anonymized for you by something, and they can just get on with the job. I think that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, at the moment.
So just to sum it up, it's one, you were talking about the collaboration and working together between data and security teams, because I've also seen that quite a lot, where security has the security know-how. Well, they better, and then when they want to translate their policies or what they want to do into actionable policies, technical policies in the data platforms, then there's often a problem in there, because usually the data infrastructure is sort of a black box for them. And the second thing is decoupling the security from the actual data infrastructure, so that data owners and security and other people can easily approach it and deal with it. And around data operations, what challenges do you see around data operations?
So I think it's the location of the data, quality of the data. I think that's a big thing is data quality. So operations are only ever good as the quality or the quality of the data they're using. So and I think accessibility. So your operational teams may not have that real-time access to data, or they might get access to just a element of it real time, and everything else is still batch related. So I think the change in data warehouses now, and especially led by what Snowflake can achieve, is that ability of, it's not just a data warehouse, it's a data cloud now. It can do your operational analytics near real time as well, and it's not it's not a expensive way of doing it, whereas old days of having Exadata or Teradata and teaser boxes to run your operational reporting of it as well was just uncomprehendable. It was never been done. And that ML ops on top of that one, to making decisions within a business process, but using historical data to have trained and driven and trained the algorithm. So I think there's going to be a big increase in operational ML now. I see a big shift in a more analytics happening on that real-time data sets now.
So when you're saying using ML for ops, you mean things like predicting load or what else?
Yeah, I think predicting load. Also, maybe doing any decisioning on maybe some fraud detection, or accessing something they're not meant to, or querying data sets. That combination of location, role, frequency. You can start putting some other operational analytics on that as well.
By the way, we were speaking about Snowflake before. Just a quick question. You've probably seen some of the Snowflake Summit sessions last month, was it? Or a couple of months ago. Which new capability do you like the most?
I think the Snowpark capability. I mean, being able to run that load, that load within your Snowflake environment is a big game changer, and it's going to create a number of opportunities. I think the tagging is also quite useful as well. How that can be used, combining it with other products that can actually utilize that tagging information to provide additional analysis. I think the analysis on metadata is becoming more and more the norm now. So having different metadata that you can provide some more analysis on is going to be useful. But yeah, Snowpark was I think we knew about it for a long time. Been talked about for quite a while, but it's good it's out there now.
So we spoke a little bit about the data security challenges, the DataSecOps challenges, and how do you see them like in 3 to 5 years once we go through like this summit to the next summit, in the next mountain?
Yeah, I think it's all about automation. I think is where it's going to go. We've seen the cloud providers provide that infrastructure. We've seen all of the platform as a services come on, and the software as a services provide on top of that, simplifying it. I think that the next one is going to be automation of data collection, preparation, cleansing, and distribution as well. So whatever that can be done automatically, whatever that can be done via using metadata-driven approaches. I think it's going to be more like data prep tools coming up. So the ability to maybe source data from known sources, like the likes of Salesforce or Dynamics, where you've got rich metadata from where that data's come from, and be able to ingest that into your data platform, and it to be able to automate some of that be able to automate some of the modeling, maybe some of the cleansing, some of the alerting on the information's in there to say how clean your data was, because if you brought it in from a known source and you've got that additional metadata, then you know what the data types are, you know what should be in there, you can validate it and provide reporting on it automatically. So I think that's one of the big focuses going forward. Will be the automation of data prep.
What do you see as the biggest challenges are for organizations when moving to data democratization or going through data democratization processes?
So, I mean, the first thing is that I think data democratization is a really good thing, and companies should be promoting it. And I know this from personal experience, is that you can have some real good people out in the business that have a great understanding of the business, and you give them that data as well, that data knowledge, they can be invaluable. So providing accessible quality data to the business, and for it to be easily consumable, and for them to not need IT or advanced data skills to be able to perform that analysis. I mean, that's going to be critical. I think to allow that to happen, to make your security teams and the governance functions happy with what's doing that, you need to get the security done up. Well, security monitoring of that data done. So I've promoted data governance. It's seen to be sometimes, or data security governance is seen to be not seen to be helpful sometimes. It's more of a they're a roadblock to your project. They're stopping you releasing your great code because you haven't done this yet. So which it shouldn't be the case. I mean, the governance and security are there for the company's best interest, but ultimately the company needs to use that data, or that data needs to be used for analysis. Otherwise, what's the point in keeping it? So if you're able to get that, get those get something in place that makes sure it's secure, make sure there's controls in place, that your governance and your security team are happy, data democratization can happen. Everyone can have access to it because it's secure. Everyone's happy it's secure, and people can start using it to find value.
Right. Yeah, and then they can find novel ways in which they can use the data. I think that when you see it in action, when you see like different teams accessing the data and making use of it in new ways, that's the power, the power of creation, I would say. So I totally agree.
and very rewarding as well. I mean, it's when you get to see people using that data in a way that's meant to, it's like, you know, it puts a smile on my face sometimes. You know, okay, right, they're actually getting value over. They're happy. You've simplified their life, but when it hasn't, it's just providing them the data. So yeah, it's a good thing.
So what do you see as some of the roadblocks we need to watch for in data security?
I think I touched on it a minute ago. It's security not being seen as preventive or a road, you know, a hurdle for you. So I think that collaboration piece, I think having data security part of your data community, or I think, you know, just that DataSecOps approach. You know, DataOps was born about that, bringing I read the manifesto when it first came out. It was a breath of fresh air to bring, you know, that those two you know, the agile way of working to data, but also bringing in that you know, that BAU and your innovation pipelines together as well. And I think the next evolution, which is that DataSecOps, is you're just having that security focus on that same piece as well. So it's security by design. So initially, when you're doing it, you already know the data classification you're bringing in. You've already told the security team, you know, I have no GDPR, or I'm anonymizing it, or I'm aggregating it to a level that will never be able to identify individuals. Yeah, having that upfront viewpoint to say, okay, right, because of that, this is the approach you need to take. Yeah, so and up until now, I don't think teams have gone for that advice straight away, because they think, oh, we're going to slow down, or, you know, they'll tell us we have to do this, or so. Having security is your friends. Developers out there, security are your friends. They're not your enemies. Governance, they're your friends. They're not your enemies as well. Work with them. Your product will move quicker. You'll have a more secure product, and you'll have happier teams, because they haven't had to go and rework something at the last minute because they've just been told that they breached the security policy. No one likes to find out that at the last minute, and, you know, you cancel your holidays or whatever to go and fix it all. Have that conversation early up front. Know you need to do it, and then just build it in by design.
I think that the application teams went through this, or in many organizations, they went through this change over time, where, and also the security teams also transformed from disablers or blockers to enablers, and they understand that they can't control 100% of the things, but they do need to be involved in projects from the design phase and throughout the project. And it's all about, like you said before, it's all about collaboration between security and the rest, security governance in data, and the rest of the teams, the engineering teams, and also with data, it's so many teams. I think that everybody that's involved with data should be involved in this DataSecOps. Also the data consumers and data owners. It's a lot of stakeholders in data. So all of a sudden, unlike DevOps, marketing is part of the game, for example, and other team, customer success, teams that were not part of the DevOps game. But if they are touching data, they need to be collaborating with the rest of the landscape of the DataSecOps players in the organization.
Exactly.
So any data project that you're specifically proud of, anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think there's many, I think, but I think the one that was right at the beginning was for BMW. Worked there with both the business partners and leading edge IT. We worked on it was a dealer KPI system. I think it made it to Computer Weekly back in the day. That was when magazines used to be printed. Is how long ago it was, but it was. Yeah, I think it was for its time. It was a very advanced KPI OKR system. That was a traffic light system. There's multiple levels of aggregation, focus on different parts of business. it was aligned to the business or the CEO's objectives. So it was actually linked to at the highest level at the board, and it simplified how the different BMW dealers were actually monitored, or even if, you know, when they triggered a review of how they go there, and they knew where the problems were, because it immediately showed where they were underperforming to others. So I think that was I think it was ahead of its time. I think that one. And there's, over the years, there's been quite a few other ones as well. I think a large regulatory project which we got in on time, which was which, if you know about government projects, they don't normally go in on time, should we say? And we got that in on time. It was doing liquidity of banks, so it was making sure that banks stayed liquid, and they didn't go bust like they did previously. So it was quite an important piece of analysis, and yeah, we put that in again. The same team at Leading Edge IT as well. So
compliance is always cool, always fun. Compliance and regulation is always fun. What are some of the coolest data technologies that you've seen lately?
So obviously Satori, and I'm not joking about that one as well. It blew us away when we first saw it. I'll step back before I go straight into the Satori one, because it might look a bit too false seeing the Snowflake was the product we saw back in 2017, and I thought this is going to change data warehousing. And people refer to it as snake oil. I think someone said it, like, I couldn't believe it. You know, it would do what it did. And you know, it took a while to convince some companies to come around and just you know, this concept of how Snowflake could scale, how Snowflake was calculated, charged. It was a game changer. And I think then Satori was when we first saw it, and we first saw Eldad and the Alf come demo it to us. We didn't believe it as well. We thinking, no, it's too good to be true. And you know, well, the time has told us. So you know, it's a fantastic product, fantastic roadmap. I think the last one I'm going to mention, and just to prove that I do talk about things that maybe we're not partners with, and that's Airbyte. I was quite impressed with recently. So Airbyte's a open source CDC/EL tool, so it doesn't do the transformation part. It plugs into DBT or other products like that. But as an open source tool, it's only been out a little while. I was pretty impressed with it, but its capabilities as well. And yeah, I'm always looking for new things, so it's always good to see what people are doing out there.
Awesome. So thank you. First of all, thank you for joining us and taking the time.
It's always good to chat, Ben, and yeah, it's always good to collaborate with you guys at Satori. You're doing a great job there.